Ooh, it's good to be back. It's good to be back home in the Glass Case of Emotion studios. It seems like we haven't been here hardly at all in the last week or more. We've been on the road, put a lot of miles underneath our tires. Went to Texas and back, Louisiana and back, and then back to Louisiana and back, and we're back. That's right. No more best ofs, at least not right now. Hope that you enjoyed last week's program and the best of programs that we did for you. But we are back for a live show, a new show. We've got we have so much to tell you. We did 2 shows, actually 3, Jared, didn't we? From about CSAT. Well, we did the special guest, Paul Howe. That was an entire episode.
We did the after action.
Then we did the after action, which was kind of like a half a show. And then we did almost the entire bonus hour, Friday's bonus hour, where we had Shane on, and we talked not only about CSAT, but we talked about our adventures in Beirut on the Bayou and the post-apocalyptic world that was New Orleans and still kind of is. I can only take New Orleans. I mean, I have this weird love-hate relationship with New Orleans. I love the fact that it has 300-plus years of history. I mean, way back before the signing of the Declaration of Independence, there was history going on. There was things going on in New Orleans. So there's that. I mean, it was a cultural epicenter for years and years and years. And it is decayed. It's gotten to the point now where it is, literally decayed to kind of like a weird, rotten state. It's kind of like a rotten apple that you pick up at the store. How many of you have gone to the store and you've bought in one of those Red Delicious that they put they're a deep red color and they put the wax spray on them so they're real super shiny, and you get it home and you're all excited about it, and then you cut into it and it's brown and it's kind of mush, and you're like, oh man, it's kind of what New Orleans is like. You've got, you go there and you're like, oh, I'm super excited because it's jazz music and bright lights and the Big Easy, and we got casinos and hotels and the French Quarter in Bourbon Street. And then you get on Bourbon Street and you're like, wow, it smells strangely like a mixture of stale beer, urine, and vomit for the whole street. And then, but every once in a while you walk by a restaurant and they blast some of the exhaust from the kitchen out onto the street, and you smell Creole seasoning from the shrimp or the etouffee, or you smell maybe something from the local steakhouse, and then you walk a little bit more and you're like, urine and vomit. Then you walk a little bit more and you're like, oh, I don't want to step in that puddle. I don't know about you, Jared, but when I leave Bourbon Street, I always have this desire to burn my shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would never wear sandals to Bourbon Street.
No, that blows me away when I see people on Bourbon Street with open-toed shoes. Like, yeah. Ooh, how about no? And I wouldn't even mind that if it weren't for all of the street vermin, and I say vermin with just the best of intentions in my heart. The street vermin. You know where I got them shoes? I got them on my feet. I don't need to every 10 feet be accosted by some street vermin who wants me to give them $1 or bet them that they don't know where I got them shoes, or just get away from me.
You had somebody say that?
Oh, more than once. The first time I said, I did the no thanks. Guy's like, hey, man, I bet you I could tell you where you got them shoes. And I said, no thanks. I did the handout no thanks thing. And then that's kind of like but I didn't ask you. What? Yeah, that kind of confuses them for a little bit. And so I walked up to a police officer like a block later, and I said, all right, what's the scam with the dem shoes? And he's like, oh, yeah, they try to engage you, and you're being, you're supposed to be I just came here from Derp, Kansas, or I don't know what your little game is there, Mr. Street Person. There's no way you can tell where I got my shoes from. And they're like, I bet you $1 I could tell you where you got them shoes. And so if you're like a moron or a hayseed or don't know better, you're like, well, all right, I'll take that bet. You got them on your feet. and they put their hand out. I bet I shoot you instead. No, you can't shoot them. Yeah, so I asked a cop, and he's like, yeah, he says they try and engage you, and then they're like, bet you $1 that they know where you got them shoes. And they say, you got them on your feet. And you're like, yeah.
That's more clever than they should be.
Well, and the thing is okay, they've been doing that for years. I mean, years. Oh, you remember when your sister called me out about having my hands in my pockets?
Yeah.
And she's like, Dad, you're not supposed to have... Because I've told my kids, you don't keep your hands in your pockets because it's hard to defend yourself if you have your hands in your pockets. But often, Daddy will have his left hand nonchalantly sitting in his left front pocket. And my daughter, this is at least 5 years ago, maybe more, she goes, Dad, you're not supposed to have your hands in your pockets. I said, under normal circumstances, yes, sweetie. But when this hand comes out, there's going to be something in it. Yeah, when this hand comes out of this pocket, there's going to be something in it. And Mr. Street Vermin won't like it. So, no, and between the street vermin that are trying to trick you out of your money, to the ones who want to walk up and put beads on you, to the ones that just bump into you and steal your wallet or whatever, or just randomly stab you on the street, what have you. I can do without it. I really can. New Orleans, they could do so much better, but unfortunately, the city's run by corrupt, like a corrupt cabal of essentially criminals. Can I say that? I can say whatever the hell I want. I just did. If they wanted to clean up the city, they could, but they don't really want to that badly.
Guess what the tax rate is in New Orleans?
I don't know.
9.25.
Ouch. Do you get lube with that?
Nope. That's what I was wondering. Because I don't remember, it was when Alex and I were there on Friday for Voodoo Fest. We were in some store, and we were looking at something, and the lady's like, it was the jewelry store. Alex is looking for something for her mom for Hanukkah.
In New Orleans?
Yeah.
Isn't that sacrilegious? You just...
Anyway, she was looking at this thing, and the lady's like, oh, well, if we ship it to you, you don't have to pay the 9.25 tax percentage. And I'm like, nine what?
What?
It's 7 here.
Well, and then there's the bed tax. They have a bed tax in New Orleans too. And you got to wonder. You're like, what are you guys doing with all this money?
Well, the bed tax is to pay for all those beds they use for the swingers convention.
You're gross. You're nasty. We did take the bicycle tour. That's something that they started a few years ago in New Orleans. Was these? I know that there's an official word for them that they like in Asia, where it's the 2-seater tricycle where there's a guy pedaling and then there's the 2-seater, and you're like, that's called a taxi or a bicycle taxi. Basically, it's a bicycle taxi.
It's a taxi.
It's a bicycle taxi. They started doing that in New Orleans a few years ago, and I've never participated in one. But you know what, Jared? The truth is, if it's not raining, I think I'd rather be sitting in the back of one of those than to be sitting in the back of a New Orleans cab.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Cab drivers, in my mind, are mostly thieves. Now, you're like, hey, I'm a cab driver. Congratulations, and I hope you're not a thief.
Well, I hope you're playing this awesome program for your
What did
riders.
Mookie say? He got in the cab and told the driver he wanted to go to blank, and the guy handed him his phone and told him to Google it because he didn't know where that was.
Durka, Muhammad Jihad.
And he said, Durka, Muhammad Jihad. I'm Muhammad Jihad. Bakalaka Daka. He wanted to go to Bakalaka Daka Street. They're heading south on Bakalaka Daka Street. Surprise! But anyway, yeah, he said the cab driver handed him his phone and told him to Google it because he didn't know how to get there. Isn't that something that cab drivers are supposed to know? Like the area? You know, back in the olden days, if you wanted to know where something was, you found a cab driver, and because they're generally knew the city like the back of their hand. But we were all done. Was it Thursday night, Wednesday night, whatever night it was? Wednesday night, I think. We were down on Bourbon with Heaven Cigars. out in the street, because you can't smoke inside the bars now, because, people apparently go to New Orleans for health reasons now. Talk about your weird upside down twisted methodology or ideologies. Oh, you can drink and puke on our streets, and we know they smell like urine, and we have street vermin that harass you the whole time up and down, but you can't smoke a cigarette inside of a bar. What? Well, it's not fair for our for our public, or what do they call them? Restaurant services or customer services. What do they call them, people? People that work in bars and restaurants and
food services.
Food services people. No, it's something
Restaurant,
like that. Service industry.
Oh, service. Yeah.
It's not fair for the service industry people, because apparently the service industry people are slaves and indentured servants, and they have to work there. They have no other choice.
Half of the service industry is strippers anyway.
Yeah, and they all smoke. They have the special balconies on the second or third floor so that the strippers can go out on the balcony and smoke between sets. But I digress. Anyway, so we were out with our buddies from ACLS. We were out with Zach and Joe and Dennis.
Steven ditched us, though.
Steven ditched us. Steven, yeah, what's up, Steven? What's up ditching us like that?
Yeah.
Charlie ditched us early. He had to get up and go to work. He was being responsible. So we're out there. We're standing on Bourbon by some place. I don't know what it was. Having cigars and watching the crowd flow by. And all of a sudden the police started swarming, and we're like, oh, this is going to be an old-fashioned beatdown. So we decided we were going to go watch that, but by the time we got there, it was all over with, and there was no old-fashioned beatdown. Because usually, when police are moving nonchalantly towards an area, no big deal. But when the highway patrol guys are pulling on their black leather gloves as they're hustling down the street, you're like, oh, yeah. Somebody is going to get a lesson. Someone's going to get a life lesson. But I don't know who got the life lesson, but they got it before we got there. And you know how when they say the old saying, all right, the gloves are coming off, which means we're getting serious. Well, in the cop world, it's the exact opposite. When the gloves go on, it's not when the gloves go off. It's like when the gloves go on. When you see it, if you see an officer slipping on his black leather gloves, it's because things are about to get serious. Oh man, let's get serious. It's Monday. It's time for the SWAT Fuel Warrior of the Week. And all right, thank you very much. I said that when we were talking about gun talk, I said, why don't any ladies call? Remember we were on the gun talk thing, I said, how come no ladies call? And they're like, ladies call, but I just answer all their questions myself. Well, we actually have a lady. A lady has called in and left us a SWAT Fuel Warrior of the Week message. So, Jared, go ahead and take it from there, brother.
All right, what I need you to do, if you are the SWAT Fuel Warrior of the Week, I need you to email Alex, ALEX, at studentofthegun.com. Email your name, mailing address, phone number, and include your email address typed in there. And she will get your information to the right people to get you your bottle of 9mm plus P.
Hi guys, Sally from Freedom Fighting Oregon here. I'm going to double down on you. At the range last week, I was handed a pistol to try that had tritium sights. First time I'd used the technology, and oh my God, they were awesome. Do you advise limiting or promote tritium and or red dot use in basic training? And could you discuss the ones you've used or like for an EDC pistol with a holster? And my double down is, are there any decent decibel blocking earplug technologies you can recommend for the occasion of not using regular earmuffs? Thank you guys so much for what you both do. You guys rock. Waiting for an Alex and Miss Nancy segment patiently. And for the record, Paul on Twitter is epic. Let her rip. Thanks.
Okay, what was the question again? Tritium sights. All right, here's my opinion on tritium sights. Yes, tritium sights can be very, very helpful. No, the rear sights, the problem where sight manufacturers screw up is, unfortunately, most of sight manufacturers, not all, but most sight manufacturers don't actually carry guns or shoot guns. They just make stuff. So they do things like put 2 tritium vials in the rear and 1 in the front. And you're like, well, what's wrong with that, Paul? And it's a 3-dot concept. Or first of all, the 3-dot concept is for kindergartners, and it's ridiculous, since don't do that. Second of all, what is the most important sight on the gun? And the answer is the front sight. Yeah, give yourself a hand. The front sight is the most important. That is the most important one for you. You need, if you're going to hit your target where you want the bullet to be, it's good to have a front sight in front of you, because what does the front sight do? Well, it sits right over the muzzle, and that gives you a very strong indication as to where the muzzle is indexed at that moment in time. But what a lot of manufacturers will do is they will put 1 tritium vial in the front sight, and then they'll take a tritium vial of equal size, and they'll put 2 of those, or 2 tritium vials of equal size, in the rear sight. So what you essentially have is a rear sight that is twice as bright as the front sight, and as an added benefit, the rear sight is closer to your eyeball. So your eyeball, naturally, when you press the gun out, it finds the rear sight first. It picks it up first because it's the most obvious, it's closest to the eye, and it's the brightest. And how do human eyes work? Well, think about it. If you had a big blank white wall and I shined a red laser dot on it, your eyeball would immediately track to that red laser dot, would it not? Yes, it would. So what I will tell you is I would stay away from, I would not spend the extra money for the tritium rear sight. If you're going to do a tritium rear, it should be a subdued tritium. There are a couple of companies out there that make like a little a little dash, or kind of a smaller subdued rear tritium, or the tritium that is less bright. I'll give you a great example. There's the green tritium, and then there's this yellow green, and then there's like a red orange. And a company that shall remain nameless showed me a set of sights, and they put the red orange tritium in the front one and the yellow green in the rear. And I said, well, from a scientific standpoint, which tritium is brighter? And they said, well, it would be the yellow green that's brighter. And I said, these are the opposite of the way they should be. The yellow green, the brightest one should be in the front, and the dimmest one should be in the rear. And they looked at me and they're like, are you sure? Pretty sure, but hey, I'm not a sight manufacturer. I just shoot the guns. So tritium sights can help. They definitely can. Tritium, a lot of people, when they go to buy a used gun, a lot of folks will sell a used gun, and they'll say, tritium sights and so forth. Like, for instance, police trade-ins. Tritium does have a shelf life. And if you've been in the game long enough, if you've been in it as long as I have, you probably have had guns that you purchased. Tritium's been around for a long time. You could get it all the way back in the 90s, early 2000s. You bought a Glock 19 or Glock 23, in 2003 or 2002 or whatever, and you pull it out and you look and you shut the lights off. You're like, man, I can hardly see that anymore. It's like, that's right, because it does have a shelf life or a half-life or whatever you want. If you're a nuclear scientist out there, it will dim. And a lot of police trade-in guns, the good news about a police trade-in gun is most of them have more holster wear on them than they have internal wear, because they're carried a lot and shot not that often. A Glock pistol that police carry, it's really hard to rag one of those out. Most of the time, they're just shot well enough to get the parts working together. And they'll spend, cops, they're spending your tax money, so they don't have any problem buying tritium sights. The nice thing about the tritium sights is tritium sights are housed in steel. They're not housed in plastic. So the sights are very robust. They're very strong, especially the rear sight. So the good news is if you buy a trade-in Glock or trade-in SIG or trade-in whatever with tritium sights, generally the sights themselves are made out of steel, and they're very stout and robust. But often the cops have been carrying it for, 4, 5, 6 years, maybe a little longer, maybe 10 years even. And the tritium is pretty darn dim at that time. That's just something you have to acknowledge. What I would do, let's say you buy a trade-in Glock 19 and the sights are really super dim. The great thing about the Glock model pistol is everyone on planet Earth that makes sights for Glock pistols. And you can swap out just the front sight, leave the rear one alone, swap out and just buy a new front sight. They're, I believe, come on, Jerry, is it Ameriglow? I'm pretty sure it's Ameriglow.
Sure.
Let me type that in right. Who's the one that makes the Hackathorn sight?
I think it's Ameriglow.
Yeah, there's a company that makes, and I'm gonna duck it right now.
Okay, duck it. But I know there's Ameriglow, and then there's another company that is similar to, like TrueGlow. It's not TrueGlow.
No. Okay, Ameriglow.
Yeah.
Ameriglow makes the Hackathorn sight, they make the Spalding sight, and you can buy just a front sight, or you can buy a set, or what have you. You can buy tritium, non-tritium, fiber optic, all that jazz. So there you go. Ameriglow, Ameriglo. We know the dudes that work there. We know Hack. We know Dave Spalding. They're good dudes. So check those guys out. All right. That is the one question. Red dots, red dots are good. The great thing about a red dot on a gun is as long as it's zeroed, you put the red dot where you want the bullet to be, and you press the trigger while you're holding the gun still, and it's gonna work for you. I hope that answers your question. As to when Ms. Nancy and Alex are going to be back on, I don't know.
Never.
I haven't hardly been on the radio myself here lately. Cut me some slack. Were there any other questions I was supposed to answer?
Yeah, the earplugs.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Sonic Defenders. The Sonic Defenders from Surefire. They're a little more expensive than a standard earplug, but they're worth it. And if you're going to be shooting indoors, or if you're going to be shooting undercover, like if you're shooting in an outdoor range that has one of those nice rain sun covers, especially if there are people around shooting rifles, put earmuffs on your head, because even with earplugs, that you guys know how the human ear works and how the vibration will travel down the bone and it'll still damage the ear even if you have plugs in. You dig that? If you're going to be inside, when I shoot in an indoor range, I always double up. I put plugs and muffs. And if I'm shooting outside where there's going to be an overhang or it's basically blasting the noise back down onto me, I will double up too. Especially if you're around really rude a-holes from communist states that either have no muzzle device on their black rifle, or they have what do they call it? The compensators or not muzzle brakes.
Compensators.
Muzzle brakes. I think it's muzzle brakes. What are those devices? No, there's flash hiders, muzzle brakes, and compensators. I think it's compensators. The ones that actually take a 223, 556 and make them louder than normal, those people need to be punched in the head more than once, because it's rude and it's wrong. It's wrong, like dick cancer. And you only have to be on the range with one of those jackholes once. And most of them are these competition shooter people that are trying to shave an eighth of a second off their splits. So they put a device on the end of their gun that makes it more obnoxious and louder than it was before, and directs all the gas at the people standing on the side. Yeah. You're a butthead, and you need to stop that. All right, Super Sally. Sally from Oregon, fighting the good fight. Here's what I want you to do. Send Alex your email, all that jazz, and you're going to get your free SWAT Fuel Plus P. And it's nice to have a woman's voice on the Warrior of the Week line.
I'm still waiting for Lauren to call.
I know Lauren hasn't called yet.
682-207-7684. That is the number you guys need to call. We accept mail.
Visa and MasterCard?
Yeah, Visa, MasterCard.
Visa, MasterCard, Amex, and Discover. And Diners Club. Don't forget about Diners Club. No, on a serious note, we were gone for so long. We were gone the end of last week, and then most of the week. The end of the week, and then most of the next week. We were only in studio for one day, and long story short, the Warrior of the Week calls actually piled up. We got almost a dozen plus in the thing there. That. What I may do for you this week is I may decide to be generous and just do a call-in show and bang, knock off your Q&A.
There you go.
Because actually there were several good questions. There's one that I put in the show notes, and I'm gonna pull it out and I'm gonna put it in something else. But it was somebody, they asked a question, but they didn't say who they were or where they're from. They just asked the question.
Here's the deal.
But it was a valid question, and I think it does need to be addressed because a lot of people might not think about it.
I have an idea.
Uh-oh.
If we can get up to, if we can get 20 questions, we'll play 20 questions. That's what we'll do. If we can get 20 questions, we'll do an entire day or an entire episode
of a Q&A.
Oh, yeah, of Q&A session this week.
Call in questions.
682-207-7684.
I don't even think we need 20, but okay.
Well, I want to play 20
questions.
questions.
You want to call it? Okay.
762. 682-207-7684. Call that number. Leave a question. Intelligent question that is rehearsed.
That's right. Oh, and make sure that you actually have a connection.
Yeah, there's a couple on there.
People call from the car like, hey, I'm calling. Going through a tunnel like, thank you very much. And the answer is yes. Oh man! All right. Did you spread all that out on purpose, Jared?
Yeah.
You changed my show notes on me.
I thought. I thought those were still from the way we did it last week.
All right, whatever. Century Arms, the sweetest smelling AKs in America. Now, Century Arms, we spent some time with them. Here's the dealio, yo. I'm going to thank these. Should we just thank them as we talk about talking to them? We could do that.
Talk about talking to them. What?
We were at NASGW, went to the National Association of Sporting Goods Wholesalers Exposition, the Expo, in New Orleans, Louisiana, last week. And while we were there, we visited with our friends at Century Arms, Jacob at Century. And they let us know that they're going to be doing a From the Factory SBR. So all you hippies out there, they're like, those stupid wrist stabilizer wrist brace things, those are stupid. I want to spend the $200 and I want to get the permission slip and I want an SBR. Okay, all right. They're going to make you one. Matter of fact, they're making you one with that Zukov side folding stock, which is actually pretty sweet. I was kind of impressed. The Magpul Zukov side folder for the AK. They're making a C30. I think it's a V2, right? It's a stamped receiver. Pretty sure
I
don't
V2
remember.
with
stamp receiver.
Was that the one we did the video of?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was running the video.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Yeah, Jared realized that when you're doing the direct... Was that Periscope?
Yeah.
That you shouldn't turn your phone sideways while you're recording
because I thought that
it doesn't automatically correct it. No, it doesn't do that.
I'm sure they'll fix that.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll fix it.
That's
eventually.
a problem.
Yeah, that's a problem. I guess they're a new company. So they've got that, and
Twitter.
They've got lots of stuff. They've got that TP9 race gun. If you're into that kind of a thing,
however,
I'm not.
They
really,
are.
I'm not really into that thing, but
are we allowed to tell them when they're coming out with the next one? Or
he said May.
Okay, so May.
He said they're going to have a G19 size compact TP9 in May. Yes, sir. We got to touch the V2, the TP9 V2 with the
touch it
without the decocker because
touch it?
The decocker just apparently bunged up some people on the internet, so they had to change it. Okay, whatever. You know, it bunged me up at first. I had like a slight bunge, like a momentary bunge, and then when Jacob explained it to me, I was like, "Bingo! I feel stupid. Drive on." But apparently, not everyone on the internet can listen long enough to understand. They just say stupid things over and over and over again. So
yeah, but if I'm super fat and my roll rolls over and clicks the button down, then
brothers and sisters, if your waist is decocking your gun, your gun is not the problem.
You have bigger problems.
You have bigger problems than what gun you're carrying. I'm just saying. I'm not a doctor. Just letting you know. Duracoat, yes, we spent some time with our good friends at Duracoat. We went over to their booth. We talked to them, and just, you know, they know us and we know them, but it was just nice to here's the deal. The NASGW was exactly what I hoped it would be. It was like a small shot that you could actually navigate. The people that we needed to talk to were there and available. they weren't pressed for time. It wasn't you talk to them for 30 seconds, they're looking at their watch like, oh, I got a meeting. Oh, I'd love to see you. Oh, thanks. Give me a card. Let's call me after the show. That's the most ridiculous thing about SHOT Show, Jared, is people go to the show, they travel thousands of miles to be in the same place, and then they exchange cards and tell each other, call me after the show.
Yeah.
I could have just stayed home and done that.
Yeah.
I didn't need to travel 2,000 miles, drop $1,000 on hotel rooms and food for you to tell me to call you next week. I could have just stayed home and called you next week. Yeah, but you couldn't have got your picture taken in their booth and putting it on Facebook. Oh, there's that. Yeah, there's that. I mean, I wouldn't have got, my picture with the booth bunny at the whatever. I guess I couldn't have stood next to the Magpul VW, which is nice. Okay, it's fun, but still. Yeah, that's the most ridiculous thing about SHOT Show. It's like you wave at each other and you're like, call me after the show. When you get back from the show, call me. I got an idea, Jared. That's what I'm going to do this year. I'm going to call you after the show, but not waste all my time and effort to go here. I'll just call you after the show. How ridiculous is that? And it's true. We all do that. Brownells we did not see. That's because they're not a manufacturer, so they didn't have a manufacturer.
We saw
booth.
Pete.
Oh, that's right. I did see Pete. Thank you for reminding me. I didn't see him on the show floor. Actually, that's funny. We were walking down.
It was nice to see him.
It was nice to see him. We saw Pete Brownell, my friend Pete, and we actually were coming from dinner. We had dinner at the brew pub, the Gordon Biersch Brew Pub, brewery / burger joint place, and we walked out and we're walking down the street and we're all dressed like barbarians because that's what we are. We're just like barbarians, and we run into these business people in their sport coats and stuff, and I walked up to Pete and I was like, to give him a bear hug, and
it was funny because I don't think he's ever seen you in
he hasn't seen my full barbarian with the long with beard
your
and stuff.
Pipe Hitters Union hat on.
Yeah, I had my Pipe Hitters Union hat on and my beard and
Pete did the why is this guy touching me?
Why is this? He's like, oh.
Yeah, you saw his face change. His eyes lit up. He's like, oh, Paul.
Oh, I thought I was about to be, I don't know.
Yeah.
Mugged by barbarians.
Mugged by barbarians.
We don't look like muggers. We'd be hugged to death.
Yeah. I did.
I'm going to hug you. No, so, yeah, that was, and it's a good thing we did because I knew, I saw him and I was like, should I bother him? I'm like, yeah, yes. I'm going to bother him because there's no way how many times you do that at a show? You see somebody out in town, and they're like, "Oh, I'll see you on the show floor." No, you won't.
Yep.
No, you won't. You won't, because they'll be doing something. You'll be doing something. Take the opportunity when you can. Stop in the hallway and talk to them, because if you don't, you're gonna miss them. So yeah, we saw Pete of Brownells at Brownells.com. The Durcoat friends. Larry at Frog, Larry and Julie, who's way too nice to be in the firearms industry.
Yeah.
And Larry's lovely daughter, who, congratulations again, and congratulations to Larry and Stacy for going to be grandma and grandpa. Had lunch with them, and cool thing, we had dinner and then lunch with our friend Ben Mookie Thomas and Cole, and I believe Cole pronounces his name Lelu. It's like the Lelux, but like Dido.
Yeah.
So, Cole, what's up, brother? I hope you're listening. I hope you read that book, or at least, I hope you ordered the book. I gave Cole a homework assignment.
He probably forgot. That was the first night.
No, I followed up with him.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I followed up.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. I actually, when I came out of my coma on Saturday, I did some follow-up texts and, told people that, yes, I'm still alive and, do this, and so I texted him. I said, "Good to see you," and buy that book. He says, "I will. I'm going to go order it right now." He said,
"Can you send me his number when you're
sure?
Can you do it right now?"
No, I can't do it while I'm talking on the radio. But thank you.
Multitasking.
Okay, really?
You should be a woman.
Multitask you. So we saw that we had dinner and lunch with the guys from Spikes Tactical. Talked about just stuff and junk and what have you, and. Introduced Mookie and Larry, because Larry being I didn't realize I was supposed to call Larry Commodore. I'm going to start calling him Commodore I told Julie when Ben and Larry were talking, because Larry was the Commodore of some naval surface warfare advanced ninja training killer unit type thing, and Ben was like attached to that unit or what have you. And I said to Julia, I was like, I didn't know I was supposed to call Larry Commodore. She's like, you're not. I said, I'm going to. Commodore, man, that's big hat and what have you. Sinkland arriving. That was for you Navy guys. All right. Who else? So Larry and Frog Lube and so forth. We saw Trent and Carol and Matt. It was Trent and Carol and Matt, right?
Yeah.
At Mulates.
Mulates.
The famous po' boy shop that everybody knows about in New Orleans, which is down on Convention Boulevard there. Yeah, and that was another one where it's a good thing we saw him there because we wouldn't have seen him on the floor. And hi, guys. Good to see you. We didn't see our friends from Velocity Triggers. Sad.
Yeah, they weren't there.
Sure. But, Tom, we're still thinking about you anyway. Velocity Triggers. And so that leads me right into, I didn't get a chance. You geeks want to talk guns? All right, let's talk gun geek stuff right now. When we were in Texas, I took the Toxicity rifle with me, or pistol. I guess it's a pistol, not officially a rifle, because that's the way we have to be in America today. My AR-15 pistol that I've named Toxicity. Took it out there and got to stretch it in our legs a little bit, didn't we, Jared? We kind of stretched it out some. Jared had his rifle. I had my rifle. We started really early on Saturday. We were on the range at 7:30. It wasn't it, Jared? Yeah, I think we were on the range by 7:30.
Yeah,
because of the rain.
Yeah.
So we got out early, and we were afraid that it was going to start raining in the afternoon, and it did, obviously, because we watched the weather. So we got out, and we were actually done on the range officially with class work by about 2:30, something like that, maybe 3. And so it was Shane and Jared, and I was like, well, man, let's go out and kind of stretch our legs. And we got our rifles out and made sure they were zeroed at 100, and they were. I think I told you guys that I put the Aimpoint Pro on Toxicity there, and I had zeroed it at 100. Actually, I BZO'd it at 30 yards, so I knew it would be on at 100. We went over to the long rifle range. Paul Howe on his range, he's got a known distance rifle range that goes all the way out to 1,000 yards. He might actually have some targets beyond 1,000, but I know he has a KD berms and targets out to 1,000 yards. So I decided to lay down. We had some Cap Arms 223 that they had sent us, and I wanted to test it out. So we had the gun. I had the ammo, loaded up some magazines, laid down, deep breaths, and Paul has these steel targets that called chest plate targets, and they're 6 inches wide and 12 inches high. Isn't that correct, Jared?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're 6 inches wide and 12 inches high, and those are your 100-yard targets because shooting a full-size silhouette at 100 is cheating. So shot the chest plate at 100, ding, okay, we're on, boom. The silhouette target at 200, boom, ding. And where we live here on the Gulf Coast, the range that we use, the Mississippi Combat Training Academy, mctarange.com, the farthest we can shoot there is 200, which is good. I mean, 200 is a good length, but if you really want to, stretch things out a little bit, test your equipment and your own skills, you need to get beyond 200. So, all right, 200, we're on 200. I had Jared spot for me. And then 300, silhouette at 300. Ding. All right, good job. Let's push it out to 400. Ding. Yeah. All right. 500, not every single time, but reliably, yes. So, with my AR-15 pistol with a red dot, just a 1-to-1, no magnification, just a plain red dot, I was able to, with the BZO, and now at 500 I was it's a standard silhouette, human silhouette, so I would put the red dot, I was putting it basically in the neck, so I'm sure that it was probably hitting about a foot or so low, maybe 18 inches low, but and you can do the ballistics in your own head. But it worked. I was pleased. With something like that, if you can hit your target at 500 yards with that, rock on. You're doing very well. With a black rifle, if you can hit out to 200, you're doing exceptionally well. Without a scope. I'm talking about basically iron sights or red dot or a 1-to-1. There's no reason you shouldn't be able to do that. And there's two reasons that I was able to do well. Number one, I was using good ammo. The Cap Arms ammo it seems I was shooting it when I BZO'd it. The rounds were clover leaf in like about a half inch. When I was BZOing, and that was just laying on the ground using my elbows as support. I wasn't using anything special as support. And the velocity trigger, I put the straight velocity trigger in it, and folks, it's really I was really impressed by it. It works for slow fire, and you're like, okay, it works for slow fire. Does it work for rapid fire? Yeah, actually, when I put that gun together, I was doing rapid fire drills with it. It worked rapid fire. Right now, as it exists, the Toxicity AR-15 pistol, wink, wink, nod, nod. I probably have Jared, about 400 or 500 rounds here. I guess I'm pushing 400 rounds without any problems. When we first put it all back together, after I Duracoated it, I just Duracoated it in matte black and put a little gun tattoo on it. Stripped the bolt down, frog lubed it. Oh, and Larry, that's right, I forgot. Larry did the little thing for us from the floor about the Extreme. And we did get our package while we were gone. We got a package from Frog Lube with the new Frog Lube Extreme. I need to pound that with a Mountain Dew when I'm doing it. Frog Lube Extreme. So we're going to be using that in the very near future. When we clean a bolt or when we break something down, strip it down, clean it, and we'll be putting Frog Lube Extreme on it. But yeah, so far so good. Very impressed. And one more thing that I'm really impressed by, and Jared is too, the Barking Spider muzzle brake from Spikes Tactical that is on the end of that.
If you don't have that, you need to get it.
Yeah, listen to me. Are you freaking listening to me? Go to spikestactical.com right now. If you're building a gun, if you have a black rifle, if you got a short-barreled black rifle, if you got one of these SIG pistols, if you have a quote-unquote AR-15 pistol with a 7.5-inch barrel, if you're shooting it with a 7.5-inch barrel and you don't have a can on that, you're a rude son of a gun. You need to stop that. 10.5-inch, 11-inch, whatever. We were shooting from undercover. I was shooting my gun. And what it does is it basically channels and directs the noise away from the shooter and away from the shooters that are laying left and right, so that you're not beating the people up that are right next to you and you're not beating yourself up. Folks, you're like, oh man, that's over $100. Yeah, I know it's over $100. And you know what? It's freaking worth it. Jared, am I lying or am I dying?
You're not lying.
You're not lying. I'm not lying. So listen up, freaks and hippies. Go to spikestactical.com, type in Barking Spider, or go to Muzzle Brakes or Muzzle Devices or whatever. If you've got a black rifle, if you got an AR, especially if it's a short-barreled gun, get one of those freaking devices and put it on there. All right, man, I can't believe it's been almost 44 minutes already. Sweet Buddha.
Wow.
It's time to put the caps in this sucker.
You going to put a cap in it?
I'm going to bust a cap in this episode. All right, kids. I promise that we will be back tomorrow, and I hope that you enjoyed today's episode. And if you did not enjoy today's episode, write to P.O. Box 405, Boulder, Colorado. Send a self-addressed stamped envelope, and we will give you a full refund. But until then, remember, you're a beginner once, but you should indeed be a student for life.